going to testify. I won't even say his name. He is an evil being and is going to pay.
Who figures out how to compromise everybody by providing this crazy freak-off party. Everybody's got to put their phones away.
Isn't there a video with Kamala?
She was at one of the Diddy parties?
Isn't she in the background with...
It might have been the difference between Diddy parties and freak-offs. Oh, my God.
They're giving him shit, too, because he's sitting in his
the guy from Chappelle Show?
Yeah.
Okay, but that's not the Diddy party.
No, yeah, it's not like they were kind of...
I think...
You think Diddy was rogue, or Diddy was like a Epstein type? It's working for somebody.
That's a good question. I'm feeling really good. I just feel amazing. You're all mollied up. You don't know what the fuck you're doing. Probably a combination of things they give you.
And it's all being filmed.
You don't even think there's anything wrong with being there. Meanwhile, you're getting drugged up and filmed. And then they're passing out punch. Have some punch, Aaron. And you have some punch, and all of a sudden you're like... And then Dave's there, too. And then Russell Simmons, too. Oh, boy. But is that at a party, or is that just a group of them together?
They were like on a yacht or something like that.
Well, it would be a great way to compromise celebrities. Yeah. And get them to say whatever you want them to do. Get them to do whatever projects you'd like them to do. Crazy. Now, if that's not an intelligence agency operation, it's just one fucking evil super genius. And, you know, if you're a bunch of other celebrities are there, you're like, oh, look, Bill Clinton's here. This is fine.
Yeah.
This is cool. Look at this. Like, Brad Pitt's here. Oh, this is cool.
I've had to turn down $50 million 4 times. 4 times. Just to protect my integrity and that virgin hole I was telling you about. Right.
Encounters, and I just want to protect her, you know? I don't want her to go through anything I went through. I don't wish that upon anybody. Yeah, if she ever needs me, I'm just a call away.
Joe Rogan isn't a guy who tiptoes around uncomfortable truths. And on a recent episode of his podcast, he might have cracked open something much bigger than a celebrity scandal. While most of the media is tiptoeing around the Diddy trial, Rogan dove in head first. But what he said wasn't just about Diddy being accused of crimes. It was about why this is happening now, and who else might be involved. According to Rogan, this isn't just about parties, power, or even exploitation. It's about control. The kind of control that only works when powerful people are compromised, hidden cameras, drugged up celebrities, private freak-offs with no phones allowed. And maybe, just maybe, Diddy wasn't acting alone. Maybe he was part of a system, or even being used by something much bigger to gather leverage on Hollywood's elite. He compared it to Epstein, to intelligence operations, to cultural manipulation on a global scale. And he asked a question that no one in mainstream media seems to be touching. Are they going after Diddy because he got sloppy, or because he knows too much? If Rogan's right, this trial might just be the tip of the iceberg.
Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them. The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time.
Joe Rogan didn't say Diddy was innocent, but he did question why everything is blowing up now. The lawsuits, the FBI raids, the headlines, all at once. On his podcast, Rogan pointed out something that a lot of people have started to notice. The timing feels strategic. Diddy has been throwing these wild parties for decades. Rumors have floated around for years. So why is it suddenly a federal emergency? Rogan's theory? Diddy's being burned. Not necessarily for what he did, but for what he knows. He's not just another celebrity in trouble. He's a guy who's been around everyone, billionaires, politicians, A-list actors. He threw the parties. He had the cameras. He made the connections. And now, Rogan says, he might be getting cleaned up because he's too messy. Or because someone needs to make him disappear before certain secrets come out. It's the same playbook we saw with Epstein. One guy takes the fall while everyone who used the system walks away untouched. Rogan's not defending Diddy. But he's asking the question no one wants to answer. Is Diddy the monster, or just the messenger who got too loud?
The person that the you of then was on a path of self-destruction.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would have, for sure. 100%. Yeah. It would have been no bueno. It was bad. I don't know if I'd be alive, for sure.
For years, "Ain't no party like a Diddy party" was just a catchy phrase, a brag about celebrity nightlife. But Joe Rogan tore the shine off that myth, asking what really went on behind those velvet ropes. According to him, everyone knew about the parties, everyone talked about them, but no one ever asked the obvious question: what was actually happening once the cameras were off and the phones were locked away? Rogan listed names casually: LeBron James, Ashton Kutcher, Kamala Harris, Russell Simmons. They weren't accused of anything, but they were seen at the same parties, in the same photos, on the same yachts. It was all fun and games, until Diddy's empire started to crack. Suddenly, those party memories looked different. What if they weren't just parties? What if they were setups, stages for something far more sinister? The silence from the A-list crowd is deafening. No one's coming to Diddy's defense. No one's even acknowledging the storm. Rogan posed it plainly. If these parties were as wild as the rumors say, how many people saw something and just walked away? Or worse, how many joined in thinking no one would ever talk?
I think this was on Apple Music, and he was speaking about another young artist that was coming up, Billie Eilish, and Eilish, and he was basically speaking about how he wanted to protect her because she was now another young person, a rising artist in the industry.
Joe Rogan didn't just speculate about wild parties. He painted a picture of something darker, freak-offs designed to compromise people. These weren't your average Hollywood gatherings. According to Rogan, they were carefully orchestrated setups. No phones allowed, drinks that made you feel too good, hidden cameras in places no one expected, and celebrities, actors, athletes, politicians, all letting their guard down in the name of fun. But what if it wasn't just fun? Rogan floated a chilling theory. What if these parties were used to gather blackmail material? Think about it. Get a powerful person high, drunk, or seduced, film what happens, and now you've got leverage for life. You don't need to threaten them, you just let them know, we saw everything. It sounds like a conspiracy. But Rogan pointed out how eerily similar it sounds to intelligence agency tactics, the kind used to control foreign diplomats or political enemies. Only this time, it's aimed at Hollywood. And if Diddy was the one running the show, filming everything and holding the keys, then maybe this isn't just about his crimes. Maybe it's about the people who can't risk those tapes ever seeing the light of day.
Federal prosecutors allege Combs used his power and wealth to coerce and exploit alleged victims for decades. If convicted, Combs would be spending the rest of his life.
Joe Rogan didn't shy away from making one of the boldest comparisons yet. Diddy and Epstein. On the surface, they're worlds apart. One was a music mogul, the other a disgraced financier. But Rogan pointed out a disturbing similarity. Both were surrounded by powerful people, both hosted secretive parties, and both operated in a world where no one ever seemed to ask questions. But the real red flag? The Epstein client list still hasn't been released. Ghislaine Maxwell is sitting in prison for trafficking minors, but no names of buyers have ever been confirmed. Rogan said what everyone else is thinking. How is that even possible? If someone's been jailed for providing, then who exactly was consuming? That eerie silence feels familiar in the Diddy case. Allegations of trafficking, coercion, and abuse are piling up. But just like with Epstein, it's starting to look like Diddy might be the only one on the chopping block. Rogan's take? That's by design. It's not about justice, it's about protection. Someone takes the fall, so the rest of the names stay buried. And if Diddy's list ever surfaced, it could blow up the industry overnight.
Got a bad financial incentive. And so, look, so much of this just comes down to the jurors are going to be sitting feet away from her. I mean, I've been in these courtrooms. They're going to be 4 feet away from her.
Diddy isn't just dealing with rumors. He's facing serious federal charges. As Joe Rogan pointed out, the charges aren't just your typical celebrity scandal fare. We're talking racketeering, sex trafficking, transportation to engage in prostitution, and coercion. But strangely, despite viral video evidence of him assaulting his ex-girlfriend Cassie in a hotel hallway, he hasn't even been charged with assault. Rogan highlighted what feels like a glaring contradiction. The public is focused on the wild stories, bandanas, balconies, and bizarre sexual control, but prosecutors are focused elsewhere. Why? What are they not talking about? What are they trying to avoid putting on the record? In one particularly disturbing detail, prosecutors claimed Diddy once dangled a woman over a balcony to intimidate her. Another time, he allegedly forced his partner to sleep with strangers while he watched. Yet the legal system isn't addressing these specific incidents directly. According to Rogan, that's not just weird, it's suspicious. He asked the hard question, are they narrowing the charges to keep the real story from unraveling? Because if the full scope of what's been alleged ever came to trial, too many powerful names might get dragged in with him.
What about the documentaries and stuff like that that have been put out about him and some of the allegations against him, and people essentially co-signing on what he's being accused of because they're highlighting his behavior?
When the FBI raided Diddy's homes, it wasn't just a high-stakes legal operation, it turned into something out of a movie. Joe Rogan recounted one of the wildest moments. A man sprinting from the scene wearing a black sports bra, red tights, long eyelashes, and shouting, "I'm a celebrity!" That man was rapper Saucy Santana, and whether he was involved or just caught up in the chaos, the internet exploded. Rogan couldn't help but joke about it, but the underlying point was serious. These raids weren't subtle. The government rolled in with Hummers, tactical teams, and a mission. They weren't just there to arrest someone, they were hunting for something. Possibly tapes, documents, or digital evidence that could blow the case wide open. The presence of artists, performers, and influencers at Diddy's homes raises the question, were they just guests or part of something much bigger? Rogan pointed out that Diddy owned multiple homes, and rumors say he kept people there, sometimes for days. If even a fraction of the stories are true, those houses weren't just mansions. They were carefully managed ecosystems of silence, power, and spectacle. And now the walls are closing in.
18 years old, and I should mention he was signed by Usher to a label that was owned jointly by both Scooter Braun and Usher, and he was considered Usher's protege. He has been described Usher as his mentor.
Joe Rogan took the conversation even deeper, asking if Diddy's entire setup looked too organized to be random. According to Rogan, the idea that one man orchestrated all these parties, invited high-level celebrities, banned phones, served spiked drinks, installed hidden cameras, and collected compromising footage, that sounds less like a party planner and more like an intelligence operation. Think about it. If you wanted to control culture, media, and the public narrative, what better way than to compromise the people who shape it? Actors, musicians, influencers, politicians, all caught on tape doing things they can't ever admit to. Now they're easy to manage. One threat, one leak, and their careers, maybe their lives, are over. Rogan doesn't claim Diddy was a government agent, but he raises a chilling possibility. Was Diddy working with someone or for someone? Maybe he got too confident. Maybe he became a liability. Maybe he forgot that when you're the guy with the blackmail, you're also the guy everyone wants to disappear. If this was an op, then Diddy wasn't just part of the machine. He may have been the tool. And tools, when they're no longer useful, get replaced, or worse, silenced.
Than what he or she said in a documentary, or leaves out a detail or adds a detail that they didn't say in the documentary, then that's absolutely fair game for cross-examination. And I assume in this case...
Joe Rogan peeled back the curtain on something few outsiders understand: the dark intersection of the music industry and street power. He explained that in the early days of hip-hop, especially in the 90s, making it big didn't just mean selling records. It meant surviving the streets. Artists didn't just perform in glamorous arenas. They played local hood clubs, often owned or controlled by drug dealers who used the venues to launder money. This is where the idea of checking in comes from. The unspoken rule that if you're performing in someone's city, especially someone with real power, you pay your respects or risk getting robbed, or worse. Rogan explained that people like Diddy didn't rise in a vacuum. They learned how to navigate the game, sometimes by playing both sides, the businessman in daylight and the street-connected figure at night. So when Diddy started throwing lavish parties and inviting the elite, was it just about luxury or about control? Rogan suggests this wasn't a fluke. It was a learned skill, rooted in decades of survival in a world where power, fear, and influence go hand in hand. And now, that world is catching up to him.
One person who was always anti-Diddy and was always speaking about Diddy as a problematic person was 50 Cent.
He would do a lot of foul shit. Like behind the scenes, he would do some foul shit.
Joe Rogan didn't just talk about Diddy. He exposed the entire machine. This isn't just about one celebrity on trial. It's about the system that protects predators, buries evidence, and silences victims. If even half of what's been said is true, Diddy wasn't the architect. He was the enabler, or worse, the puppet. And now that the strings are snapping, everyone's scrambling to cover their tracks. The real question isn't if Diddy goes down. It's who else falls with him, or gets protected at all costs. Because this story, it's far from over.